Pick up the shovel.
I got the shovel. I brought some pictures of my dad, and I got one here for Julian. That's a picture of my dad with his first car. I don't know whether you want one for Alicia. And if anybody else wants one, I've got some more copies here. Sure.
Here's my dad.
Anyway, this picture was my dad when he was about 23 years old, and he's with his first car, which was a '29 Chevy, and the picture was taken in 1934. And what I really like about this picture is, when I was a kid, the generation before me, that's the way usually the men would dress when they went anywhere. The only thing he doesn't have on is his hat. Usually they'd have a hat. But men would dress up to go see new cars or go to church or whatever. And he's got a nice suit on there with a vest and all that. And that's kind of the formal way that those folks were in those times. I'm sure there were times when they went into town, he was a farmer, that he wore his greater clothes. But continuing the car thing, when I was about 6 years old, we lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and my dad and Mom bought an old barn shed from a farming family. Their name was Manal, and Miss Manal, who was raised on this farm, was later my second grade teacher. But anyway, Dad took that barn shed thing apart, and Mom and Dad built a house out of it. And in the old barn were trucks and cars. And I was 6 years old, you know, I had no business being over there, but I wanted to get in this stuff. We lived in a house that had a big lot. Dad brought all that lumber and all that stuff there while he was getting ready to buy the land to build a house. And he had this big old truck, which I loved. And he had this old 1923, I think it was, Durant that was in kind of bad shape. And he fixed the engine all up. When we finally got our house built, Dad ran a wire, took a headlight off of this Durant. We didn't have electricity in this house yet. We were kind of in a rural area. And he hung the headlight reflector from the ceiling of the kitchen, and he ran the wire out to the Durant about 100 feet away, and he put some gas in the Durant. You'd hear it out there going chugga, 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 chugga. And I can remember that when it would run out of gas, he put just enough gas in for an hour or two, the old Durant would go chugga, 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 and the light would start. And when the light went out, it was time for the coal lamps. You know, we actually used coal lamps. So anyway, Dad finally got rid of the Durant. I don't know exactly what happened to it, but that was about 1945 or probably 1944, 1945, thereabouts. And my dad was a real hard-working guy, and the thing that I got from my dad that I have used all my life and still use is he would teach me how to do things. And my dad was not a patient guy, but with me, he never raised his voice. He was never impatient. He never said, "You didn't do it right." He just showed me how to do it. But I learned by doing it. He wouldn't do it for me. You know, he'd make me saw the board or work on the car or whatever. So I've used that. I've used those attributes all my life. I got that. And there's lots of other stories about my dad too, but he was a good guy. If anybody wants some pictures,